All right, ladies and gentlemen, fellow advocates, I am Reggie B coming at you once again with this live stream. So instead of it being the last Monday of the month, which I didn't do a live stream, which I normally do on the last Monday of the month, but we will be back in the month of May on Memorial Day doing another live stream. But in the meantime, I definitely wanted to get in a live stream before the end of the month. So with it being a live stream, like we always do about this time. So in this video, I'm going to get right into it, y'all. If y'all don't mind, I'm going to get right into it in this video, in this live stream. One of my favorite topics to discuss. We're going to talk about the growth mindset. And not only are we going to talk about growth mindset, we're going to talk about a fixed mindset as well. We're going to talk about the difference between the two, depending on who you are. And I want you to ask yourself this. Do you have a fixed mindset or do you have a growth mindset? And I bring this up because a few years back, I want to say for me, it was around maybe 2021, 2022. I took this assessment and it asked me a number of questions. It had a number of statements. And it was a determination of where I was currently in my journey. Did I have a fixed mindset or did I have a growth mindset? They graded you based on 4 different possibilities. Now, once I finished the assessment, it was determined according to it that I had a growth mindset with fixed tendencies. And once I got those results, I said to myself, you know what? There may be something to that. Because I understand that I was working towards getting a growth mindset at that time, but I also still had some tendencies. I had some things that I had to work out. So I understood the results of the assessment. And what it did for me is it just really just allowed me to come to the realization that I had some work to do in order for me to get to that growth mindset. And as always, I am a continued work in progress. There are a few things that I'm working on right now to really just get to that growth mindset. And one of the things is I want to share with you is something that I came up with. And I refer to it as trap words and phrases. And what I mean by that is we have to be mindful of what we see, what we speak, what we declare, our language, because there may be certain things that we're not aware of. It could be phrases, it could be words. It may be some things that we tell ourselves on a constant, consistent basis that can be potential in keeping us in that fixed mindset. And I'll tell you about some personal experiences. Now, there was a point of time in my life, and I'm just thankful and I'm grateful that I got this particular word out of my vocabulary. I used to tell people that I was a procrastinator. I used to tell people that, and I used to declare that, and I said it with pride. It seems as if I was proud to proclaim myself as a procrastinator. When people would ask me to do something for them, or if people ask me to show up. Now, there are certain things I was asked to do, and I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't come through. Same thing would be, when people would ask me to meet them somewhere or to attend a certain event, go to a certain space, and I wouldn't show up. And there was a few times where I told people, I would say, you know what, forgive me. I am a procrastinator. I really had the nerve to tell people that I was a procrastinator. And from there, they stopped dealing with me. Like on the real, people stopped dealing with me because I used to tell them that I was a procrastinator. But nowadays, I'm not using that phrase anymore. I'm not using that word anymore. So I done moved beyond that. So being a procrastinator, that's not what I'm telling people. Along with that, something that I'm working on right now. Something that I'm working on right now is that I would tell people that I'm old school. Now, being old school may be cool to some, but the thing about being old school is it can potentially give us limitations. Now, I love being old school. You know what I'm saying? Like, I listen to old school music. I right now, as I mentioned before, it's something that I'm working on, but I have sort of an old school mindset where it's like it's just a way of thinking, basically. You see what I'm saying? But the thing about having this old school mindset and being old school is it has the potential to limit us. Because if you think about it, when it comes to growth, it's all about evolving. Everything around us is evolving. The world is evolving. Society is evolving. How we go about doing things is evolving. And it's always good to have more than one way of doing things, especially this time of day. Although being old school may work for you in some ways, in certain ways, but it may not be beneficial to you in other ways. You may have to think beyond old school from time to time when it comes to doing certain things or move it a certain way. So that's why I say being old school has its limitations. Another thing that I recently started working on, something that I'm trying to overcome, something that I'm currently working on is being more tech savvy. And this was another thing that I used to tell myself and I used to tell others is that I'm not tech savvy. When it came to dealing with these electronic devices, when it came to doing certain things, even with me working on my creativity with the podcast and the YouTube channel, there were certain things that I struggled with. There were certain things that I felt like I couldn't do. And I used to tell myself, and I used to tell people, well, I'm not all that tech savvy. That was my excuse. But I came to an understanding that I need to learn some of this stuff. Now, I don't necessarily have to learn it, but it will be very beneficial. And if I don't learn the stuff, I can always outsource. I can always ask someone for a favor to do some for me in regards to technology that I may not know or I might struggle in. Or I can pay, which I don't mind either way. But again, with me declaring myself not to be tech savvy, I'm limiting myself. So going into this year of 2025, I said to myself, I'm not going to declare that anymore. I'm not going to tell myself and I'm not going to tell others that I'm not tech savvy. Instead, I'm going to apply action. I'm going to learn how to do things. If there's something that I need to do, I may ask for a favor or I may pay someone to do it, outsource. Along with that, I want to learn how to do it as well, because telling myself that I wasn't tech savvy, I wasn't willing to learn these new things. So that's something that I'm currently working on right now. So let's get right into it, y'all. We're talking about the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. And feel free to leave a comment below. Feel free to let me know your thoughts so far. And as far as like trap words and trap phrases, real quick before I go any further, I got some homework for you. So I want you to think about, in regards to trap words and trap phrases, I want you to think about something that you tell yourself or you tell others on a constant, consistent basis, on a regular basis. What are some words or phrases that you use that you feel that can potentially be keeping you in that fixed mindset? And I want you to think about that. I want you to do some self-inventory. I want you to do some soul searching. And I want you to think about that. Once you do that homework, feel free to leave a comment below in my YouTube channel. I would love to receive your feedback. So let's talk about the qualities and signs of a person with a fixed mindset versus a person with a growth mindset. So the first sign is that an individual with a fixed mindset will avoid challenges. If a task or goal seems to be too difficult, they have a tendency to avoid those challenges. They have a tendency to kind of back, kind of fall back. They don't want to take on that challenge. And with that, a lot of times they rather stay in their comfort zone. And along with that, fear also plays a part in that as well in regards to avoiding challenges. They see this challenge as like this big wall, this big bully. You remember bullies back in the day? Whether you got bullied or perhaps you've seen a bully. When we were young lads, when we was kids, we came across these bullies in the neighborhood. We came across these bullies in the schools. And when we seen and recognized a bully, we didn't want to have anything to do with them. We didn't want them bullies to notice us. We didn't want them bullies to see us in hopes that they didn't try to bully us. Same thing goes for right now with these challenges. When we see a big challenge, we don't want to have anything to do with it. That's what a fixed mindset person does. But if you have a growth mindset, instead of you avoiding challenges, you embrace challenges. You take on the challenge. You feel me? The bigger the challenge, the better for a person with a growth mindset. And with that, sometimes taking on a challenge requires taking a quote unquote leap of faith. Depending on what the challenge is, you may have to make sacrifices in order for you to go against that challenge and conquer that challenge. But you're willing to do it. You're willing to take that leap of faith. You're ready to conquer your fears. So a person with a fixed mindset would avoid challenges, and a person with a growth mindset will embrace the challenge. That's the first quality and sign of a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. The second sign is that a person with a fixed mindset will say that it's too hard. Something is too difficult to do. So instead of trying hard, or putting forth more effort, they just won't do anything. They'll stop the pursuit. They may begin something, and they may be doing it along the way. And as they're doing it, it becomes difficult. It becomes hard. And then they say to themselves, you know what? I'm not cut out for this. I don't want to do this. This is too hard. This is not for me. But instead, a person with a growth mindset, they will train their brain to do just about anything. They won't tell themselves and they won't tell others that it's too hard. A person with a growth mindset, they feel like that they can do anything if they put their mind to it. Because there's nothing more powerful than a made-up mind. See, with a person with a growth mindset, it's hard to convince them that they can't do anything. They understand that they have to put forth effort, that it's a mind thing, something that seems to be too hard for people with a fixed mindset. But a person with a growth mindset, they understand it's all in the mind. They done made up their mind that nothing is too hard for them. And they're going to do it. Whether they succeed or whether they fail. If they fail, they're going to learn from it. You see what I'm saying? So nothing is too hard for a person with a growth mindset. Point blank, period. So that's the second quality of a person with a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. The third quality, the next qualities I want to share with you is that a person with a fixed mindset, they expect rewards without effort. You see, people with fixed mindsets, they want positive results without putting in the work or the lack of work. You see, when it comes to expecting rewards without effort, these are people who are lazy. And not so much being lazy as far as like they lack action or they lack mobility, or they may lack action because they expect it without effort. But along with that, the laziness comes from the mindset. You see what I'm saying? So if you have a lazy mindset, you will likely move lazily. You feel me? So I may upset some people when I say this, and people may get in their feelings when I mention this. When it comes to expecting rewards without effort, I've seen this in some people who proclaim to be believers. If you're a Baptist, if you're a Catholic, if you're a Christian, whatever denomination you claim, for some people, this may apply to them. Believers, there are some believers out there who expect miracles without putting in the work, without putting in the effort. They'll pray for a miracle. They'll pray for something to happen. As well, you should. Let me make sure I say that. As well, you should pray for it. But from there, after they pray, they just sit back and wait for the miracle to happen. They just sit back and wait for the great thing to attain. Instead of them putting in effort and putting in work to not only attain it, but also sustain it. And I say that from a personal standpoint because I used to be like that. I claimed to be a Christian, and I used to pray, and I used to tell myself, God is going to work it out. But I didn't do my part. I didn't put forth the work. I didn't put forth the effort. So again, people with a fixed mindset, they expect rewards without effort. People with a growth mindset, on the other hand, they understand that effort is the path to mastery. You heard the old school saying, practice makes perfect. Well, as for me, I learned later on in life that practice doesn't so much make perfect, but practice makes permanent. The more work that you put in, the better that you're at it. You putting in the work, you putting in the effort, you're constantly doing it over time. You're working consistently and to the point where you become a master at what you're doing. So again, people with a growth mindset understand that is that effort, putting in effort over time, putting in action over time will get you to be a master in your area. The fourth quality or sign that I want to share with you in regards to a fixed mindset and a growth mindset is that people with a fixed mindset, they ignore feedback. You can't tell a person with a fixed mindset nothing. They think they know everything. They think they better than some people. So you can't tell them nothing. Whether they're getting coaching, whether they're on a job, some people might try to coach them up, try to encourage them and say, hey, maybe you should try doing this way. Maybe you should do it this way. A person with a fixed mindset may be like, man, gone on with all that. I'm not trying to hear that. I know what I'm doing. You don't need to be telling me what I need to do. I know what I'm doing. I got this. Just totally ignore the feedback. But on the other hand, a person with a growth mindset, they learn from feedback. They're coachable. You heard that term. You heard that term before. And I know people have asked you that. People have, inquired to you about that. Whether it was a coach, whether it's a mentor, maybe it was a supervisor or a manager on your job. One of the things that they look for in people is to see if they're coachable. And that's what a person with a growth mindset is. A person who's willing to learn, a person who's willing to grow. And another thing, just to take it a step further, a lot of times as individuals, we get harsh criticism. And sometimes that harsh criticism may allow us to feel some type of way. We may be in our feelings from harsh criticism. So after we feel sorry for ourselves, and after we say to ourselves, woe is me, after we receive that harsh criticism, where do you go from there? A person with a fixed mindset might go cry in the corner and throw a fit. But a person with a growth mindset, they see it as an opportunity to learn. They see it as an opportunity to go forward and use that feedback as a tool that could potentially put them in a better place, take them to the next level. That's how a person with a growth mindset sees it. So a person with a fixed mindset ignore feedback, while a person with a growth mindset, they learn from the feedback. And the last quality I want to share with you in regards to a person with a fixed mindset and a person with a growth mindset. The last quality I want to share with you is that people with a fixed mindset, they are threatened by the success of others. Shout out to the haters and shout out to the insecure people who don't want to see others grow, who don't want to see others succeed, who don't want to see others having things. That's the haters. And the thing about haters is they don't want to see too many people shine. They don't want to see no one else shine. They don't want to see others receiving great things, having great things happen in their lives. It's unfortunate that they feel that way, but that's that fixed mindset. And in regards to competition, say that they're going toe-to-toe with others. If they're trying to perhaps, become a business owner, or they are a business owner, but they're competing against another business. Or if you're on a job with somebody and one of your coworkers, y'all going for the same position, and them haters and them insecure people, they feel like that they got to gossip behind your back, that they got to talk bad about you, that they got to speak themselves up, talk themselves up in order for them to get to that position. They play in politics. So instead of a person with a fixed mindset being threatened by the success of others, a person with a growth mindset is inspired by the success of others. So instead of them hating and instead of them being insecure, they congratulate. They will applaud you. They will pat you on the back. In regards to social media, if they see someone succeeding, if they see someone doing well on social media, they might like their post. They might like what they put on social media. They might leave an encouraging comment. They might share their victory. A person with a growth mindset will share other people's victories, will share other people's success. That's what a person with a growth mindset would do. And in regards to competition, a person with a growth mindset understands that they're not in competition with others. They are in competition with themselves. When God wakes them up in the morning, a person with a growth mindset understands that I'm not competing against the next person. I'm competing with the person that I was yesterday. I need to be better today than I was yesterday. They have an understanding of that. Person with a fixed mindset is threatened by the success of others, while the person with a growth mindset is inspired by the success of others. Peace and blessings to you as you continue your journey. So let me know what you think. I shared with you a few qualities of a person with a fixed mindset versus a person with a growth mindset. Let me know what you think about it. Feel free to leave a comment below. If you can think of any other qualities that a fixed mindset person have versus a growth mindset, what they have, feel free to leave a comment below. Don't forget your homework. I mentioned the homework. And earlier in the video, I talked about trap words and phrases. Think about your vocabulary. Think about the words and phrases that you use on a constant, consistent basis. There may be something that you're declaring, that you're telling yourself, that could be potentially keeping you in a fixed mindset. I want you to think about that. That's your homework. And once you complete that homework, feel free to come back, leave a comment on my YouTube channel. I would love to receive your feedback. I am Reggie B, aka the Growth Advocate. I appreciate you all tuning into this live stream, tuning into this episode of the Growth Times Infinity podcast. Appreciate you, Instagram. Appreciate you, YouTube. And until the next time, keep growing and keep going.